Welcome to Ion Motive number 9. Hope you're doing really well. Thanks for tuning in. As you might have noticed, today I'm going to be talking about dealing with self-doubt, and specifically at the start of working on a new goal or dream. But before we get into that, I want to talk about my new podcast format on my website. So if you go to ionmotive.com/podcast, you'll be able to find all my episodes there. Additionally, they will all be transcribed. So if there's something you might have missed, or you just prefer it in audio format, you'll be able to read it that way. Originally, I was typing the blogs myself, and I eventually realized that transcribing these would just be better. So they're word-for-word transcriptions, and again, they're available on ionmotive.com/podcast. Without further ado, let's get into this. I recently went to dinner with a college friend to tell him more about Ion Motive, and I learned a little bit more about what he was doing this summer in terms of business, and he asked me the question, and not in a rude way, just in a general sense, what reasons that I thought I had to be lecturing people or providing advice on motivation, mental health, mindset, all these things. And again, he didn't say it in a mean way or anything, but it was just a good question, Because when you look at a lot of these people who are doing this on a large scale, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, right? They've had years of success. This question really got me thinking. There are a number of reasons why I think I have the right, if you would say, to be talking about this kind of stuff, but I don't need to go into that in this episode. Ultimately, this question really got me thinking about self-doubt, something that everybody deals with. You probably deal with it. I know I do. I know the top leaders in the world in whatever profession have to deal with it. I think for most people, it's a constant battle, right? It's not something that you overcome fully ever. I mean, there's times where you feel invincible, like you're on top of the world, like nothing can stop you. But a lot of times that crazy intense motivation is temporary, right? It's hard to sustain that level of intensity and positivity all the time. It's pretty unrealistic, I think. However, it's still something we can deal with and manage if we are intentional. When starting this page, I really had a lot of self-doubts. I mean, first of all, I didn't want to post my face at all. Any video of me actually talking, even audio, it just made me so uncomfortable, right? I didn't want to just put myself out there. And I didn't even tell people about this page at the very beginning, besides a few close friends and some family members. A lot of this stemmed from me worrying about what other people would think, right? I'm 20 years old, never done something like this before, no coaching experience. I had all these thoughts running through my head, and it was a challenge. Going back to posting my first podcast, that was so stressful. I remember redoing it, editing it to try to make it perfect. And it didn't sound that great to me. I stuttered too much, all these things. And eventually I just went for it. I posted it, and the self-doubt definitely did not 100% go away. Like I said, I don't think it ever really goes away. But as soon as I posted this video, the very first one, I felt this weight come off of my shoulders. It felt so good to finally get it out there. But again, this is not something that I have just overcome. In my latest podcast, the very first one I transcribed, I was reading the transcription, doing some editing to it to clean up some of the missed words. When doing so, I realized there were so many things I could improve to make my podcasts sound better. I could speak better, all these things. And self-doubt started to creep back in. To be completely honest, even now I struggle with wondering if this page will ever take off to the level I want it to be, if I ever will be as good a speaker as I want to be. All of these things, it's a constant battle. Like I've said a couple times now, it's just something that's always there. But to make this podcast a little more positive, I've been able to overcome the self-doubt I've dealt with up until now. And I'm now going to share what I do to prepare myself for self-doubt and how I ultimately work through it. I wish there was something I could say that would convince you to just get started on whatever area in your life you wanted to expand, wanted to develop. But unfortunately, I don't know what words those would be. I don't have some crazy, powerful voice that makes you want to just go climb a mountain. I don't know what I got to do in order to get you going right now. At some point, it ultimately just comes down to you, right? You just got to say, F this. No matter what happens, I'm just going to go for it. And that's kind of what happened for me. It got to a point where I thought about for so long, and there was just a moment where I said, screw this. Let's just try and we'll see where it goes. For me, it really started in the mindset, and I realized a couple of things. First of all, I would rather feel some temporary level of discomfort right now. The fear of failure, the fear of getting judged, the fear of self-doubt. I would rather feel all those things than just delay the discomfort and feel regret in 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So no matter what, I'm going to feel discomfort. It's inevitable. There's no way around it. The moment you decide to actually go for something, to even just conceive of a dream, you have welcomed discomfort into your life, whether you work for it or not. If you decide to work for it, you're going to feel all those things that comes through working through the process. But if you say, no, I don't want to feel those emotions, and instead you just back away and shy away from working on your goal, yeah, you might not feel those emotions right now, but give it 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and those emotions are going to turn into something way worse, way more prolonging, and that's regret. I don't want to feel that. No matter what, it's inevitable. So pick your discomfort. And to me, it seems obvious the first choice is the way to go. Start working on your goal, because in that scenario, at least you have a chance for everything to work out. The second thing that kind of got me going was thinking this. I have this voice in my head. I have this thing telling me to go forward, to do some great thing with my life. Who am I to say no to that? I mean, literally, why would I do that? There's something I want. There's something I could do. Why would I not go for it? There's literally nothing better I can do with my time than to work towards that goal. I mean, literally, what could be better than that? The final thing that made me want to get going on my page on this platform was just the realization that nobody is ready at the start. I love Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, all these huge inspirational guys, but in no way, shape, or form am I ready to go do a podcast with them. In no way, shape, or form am I ready to go speak in front of 5,000 people, right? But I'm closer than I was yesterday. Nobody is ready at the start. And chances are there's probably not going to be a perfect moment where it's just the time to start for your goal, right? I think saying, oh, I'm waiting until this happens, or I'm waiting till things settle down before I start really working on myself and my goals, that's just the sign of self-doubt. You're not confident. You don't think you're ready, but chances are you are never going to be any more ready. Do you need to have X million dollars before you decide, oh, okay, now I'll go work on my goal because it's safe? Do you need to achieve some certain level of success, some vague title before you can start working on your goal? No. Those things come by attacking the goal, the dream, the vision. Those were the things that ran through my mind, the thoughts that really got me going. Now, I'm going to talk about some of the specifics that really helped me start the process, helped me overcome self-doubt in at least the early stage of working on this page and some of my other goals as well. The first specific thing that really helped me is to create a purpose-filled path. I've talked about this in some of my earlier episodes. I'm pretty sure I've already talked about it a couple times, but in case you missed it, what I do is set my goal at the very top. Oh boy. Oh, there we go. Try to make sure it's as specific as possible. So let's just say if I'm doing this page, I want to help 100 million people, right? We'll go big, we'll go crazy right now. So 100, okay, I probably could have just put 100 and then MIL, but you get the point. So 100 million people helped. I want to motivate that many people. I want to inspire that many people. I want to change that many people's mindsets. So then I got to figure out a couple of the first steps. You don't need to figure out all the steps right now. I have no idea how I'm going to eventually get to that point. But I figured out a couple of the first few key steps, and in doing so, it kind of creates this snowball effect where you just learn along the way. You figure out what the next step is. So can't even remember. I've talked about this before, and I want to try to write about the same thing. Probably won't be the exact same thing. So the first thing I had to do was create a podcast, actually put out my very first piece of content. Once I did that, I realized, I need a place where people can access my content. So I created my website. And then I did the next thing, which was expand to other social media platforms in order to gather more support, gather more of a following. Specifically, I targeted LinkedIn later on. I actually targeted social media. That was probably the very first thing I did. But then I can figure out the next step, the next one. And eventually, I'll be able to get to this point. Additionally, the purpose-filled path also is helpful in understanding what you don't need to do. So I realized, okay, I don't need to spend money on a team right now. Maybe I wanted somebody to edit my videos, which I would love to have eventually, because I think I could find someone who does an even better job and a faster job. But for right now, I don't need that. I also wanted to sell t-shirts, but for right now, I don't need to do that because it would just be detrimental to my growth. So the purpose-filled path is a great little tool I use to help figure out the first few steps, and I still do it to this day. It's still helpful in figuring out the next couple of things. The second thing you can do to overcome self-doubt is to create a list of objectives that you can achieve over time. So obviously 100 million people helped is the final goal. But if I can't go from 0 to 100 million. So some of my goals on my objectives sheet, whatever you want to call it, I have help 10 people. Then the next thing, post my 10th video. Then the next thing, help 100 people. Then the next thing, start posting more on other platforms. And the list goes on and on and on. So I started with what would be the very first thing I need to accomplish. And then it goes further and further and further until I get into things like give my very first speech. Notice that's not at the top. I put that more towards the middle because I think that's something I'm going to do later down the road. Then the next thing might be help 100,000 people, inspire 100,000 people, all the way up until your final goal. The third and final specific thing I do to overcome self-doubt is do some visual meditation. I don't really know if that's the proper thing I should call it, but that's what I'm going to call it. Regardless of what I call it, I try to do this every morning, and on the days I forget, I'm not as comfortable as the days I do it. So I literally will take a couple minutes in the morning. I will try to wear my headphones just to either block out noise or put on some background music with some Lord of the Rings ambiance with wind or a little ocean breeze, things like that just kind of drown out the noise and you really don't need to pay attention to. The first thing I'll do is take some deep breaths to just slow my breathing, try to minimize my thoughts, try to just clear my mind. And then when I feel comfortable, I will tell myself things like, I will prepare myself for situations of self-doubt. So I was super uncomfortable to post on LinkedIn. I mean, it was really a challenge because, again, going back to the whole not ready thing, I see all these people who were, already successful, further along than I am. And it was an uncomfortable feeling. So for that situation, in the morning of, while I'm the most calm, I'll take a few minutes and say, when the challenge arises, when self-doubt comes to me, I will overcome it. Because I know the feeling of self-doubt flees as soon as I step over the hurdle. So specifically, I'll tell myself, if there is something that I know I want to do and could be helpful to my growth, I will do it. I knew LinkedIn was going to be helpful to my growth. So I said, I will do this. I will post on LinkedIn. So then when the moment came, it was like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. And I ended up doing it. I ended up posting on LinkedIn or whatever the situation was. That's really helped me because by thinking about the possible uncomfortable situation beforehand, I'm ready for when it comes. It doesn't catch me off guard because I've been thinking about it. I've planned for it, and I know what I have to do to overcome it. It's not something like, oh gosh, maybe I should post on LinkedIn. No. It's something I know I will feel self-doubt about. So I'm ready to do it. The meditation helps me visualize what I need to do and then actually do it. If you notice, these 3 specific things I talked about, the purpose-filled path, the list of objectives, and the visual meditation are all about intention. That's all what this comes down to. You need to be intentional, and that will help you to overcome self-doubt, right? I've said this before, but intention is better than impromptu. Plan ahead. Self-doubt's coming, right? So plan ahead for it. Know what you have to do to overcome it. These are just a couple of things that have helped me. I hope they helped you in some way. If you got anything else, make sure to DM me on Instagram, message me on Facebook, comment on YouTube, reach me somehow, share some of your tools you use to overcome self-doubt. When I actually do this, it's the best feeling in the world. When I finally overcome the challenge, overcome the self-doubt, overcome the feelings I have inside, it's liberating, honestly, right? I feel like myself, I don't care anymore. And now when these challenges come, like posting on LinkedIn, I don't even think about it. I might struggle with other things, but I've already worked through so many scenarios of self-doubt that I know I'll be able to overcome the next big obstacle. When I first started, I was so uncomfortable to speak into a camera. I was so uncomfortable to speak into my phone, to post podcasts. And now it's whatever, right? I love doing it. Ultimately, this process has been so much fun, just growing and doing things that I didn't think I would have to do or ever think to do for this page. It's just been an awesome experience, and it's because I've been able to work through the self-doubt, and the 3 things I've been doing have helped me so much. I cannot stress that enough. Like I said, it all comes down to intention. Even if these things don't work for you, find ways to be intentional in overcoming your self-doubt. Be ready for it, plan for it, and overcome it. I mean, I've even been waking up with more energy. I've been going to bed easier because I'm not having these things, these little negative self-doubt thoughts in my head, right? I'm waking up and I'm preparing. I set the tone for the day, and then I can go to bed knowing, okay, I accomplished that goal. It's a great feeling. It's helpful. And then the next day, it's even easier because I'm well rested, and I know that yesterday I accomplished it, and it's easy to keep going. Whew. That was a good episode. That just, for whatever reason, felt great to do. I'm happy I did it, and I'm happy I'm working on this process. So again, know that if you're struggling with self-doubt, the next step is it's such a relieving feeling. You will feel great. So please take that step. You will not regret it. If you fail, who cares, right? Take the first scenario, like I said, and do it now where you have a chance to be successful rather than never doing it and feeling regret later. As I mentioned earlier this episode, I kind of revamped my website and my podcast blog. It's going to be cool because when I get a lot more episodes going, I will be able to format it to the specific talk. So if I have 3 or 4 talks on fitness, I can categorize those. If I have 3 or 4 talks with discussing mental health, I can categorize those and things like that. So I just love the new format. It's also got the links to Buzzsprout, or not Buzzsprout, that's my hosting website. It's got the links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, the RSS feed, and Stitcher, I believe. So if you haven't, check that out. It's an easy way to access the podcasts. But for now, I leave you with that. Until next time, remember the ION motive. Live a charged life.